Everyone, what's up? And welcome back to another episode here with some pot Limit Omaha content. In today's episode, we're gonna jump into some play and explain action here on Party Poker. I just started 2 tables, PLO 10 cent, 25 cent here on the fast forward tables. And we're gonna play through a couple of hands here, commentate on the action while we are playing, and hope to get into some interesting spots. The goal is to make a couple of double ups and then move up in stakes to PLO 25 cent, 50 cent. Let's see how that is going to end up. Right now it's Sunday morning and we have about, let me see, we got about 45 entries into the pool, which is not bad for this time of the day. Here we face a 3-bet by Azilder, and we have a pretty disconnected hand, but we are very deep. We have a nut suit, so we are going to make the call. Interesting flop top and bottom pair with the backdoor nut flush draw. Not necessarily a hand I want to get in all the money here on the flop. But I think in general, a checking range is a little bit weak or is on the weaker end. So I do want to start off with a bet here and see how the action will continue. This is definitely a hand that we could consider also checking back here. It's a high frequency check back in like a sort of GTO setting for sure. And here we turn top 2 pair. I think he will still have a good amount of overcards with a flush draw. So I do like to make a bet here. And we take it down. Would be unfortunate if he check raises there, of course. In the meantime, we 3-bet ace-ace, 9-8 rainbow here. Could also be a hand to flat here for sure. But in general, you don't want to have that much of a flatting range at the lowest stakes, of course, because of the rake. And on this board with the open-ended straight draw, I'm gonna bet. I'm gonna get 1/3 pot actually. We have a pretty strong hand, of course. We turn quads. And it's hard to get value, I think, by betting, but it's also hard to get him bluffing, I would say, on this card. So I do like to bet myself, and on the river, I continue to bet. And we take it down, which is nice. And we also win a very big pot here. We're gonna replay through that hand in a second. Of course, it's a little bit faster because we play 2 fast forward tables here. So sometimes I might have to pause the action. But as you can see, actually you don't see it yet, but I'm gonna open it up soon. Here we 3-bet. We are also a little bit deeper. And on this board, I'm gonna start with a check, I would say. Like, I don't connect at all to the board. I don't have a blocker, a straight draw. So I check in the hope to see check back, which happens. And on the 8, I think we can go really either way, betting or checking. Because we have all those straight draws still, I do like a bet. I'm not entirely sure about sizing though. In general, I would say smaller is better on these pairing cards. And on the river, I'm gonna go for a small value bet. I think that's fine against Jack X, against Queens. Not sure if he did make the call. He did. He did not. Sorry about that. So let's open up this hand that unfolded on the other table. So we Open raise king, jack, 10, 9, single suited. We face a 3-bet by a short stack on the button. And then the big blind comes in for the cold call here. A little bit unusual, at least it should. But on these stakes, of course, it happens a lot. People call too many hands. And we get a good price now to continue, so I am making the call. We flop very strong here. We flop middle pair and a rep with a backdoor flush draw. I think we can check because the button will put his money in very often. But I just don't want to risk him checking back in a sense. So therefore, I did decide to lead here. We will definitely have a leading range here. This board will interact quite well with my MP open raising range and then calling versus 3-bet. So it's a good board to have some leads in there. I think we can also just go for a large sizing. I don't really think we have a pot like a bet folding range with his stack size. So probably going larger would maybe be better. Now the big blind also gets the money in, which is good because we have a very good hand here, a lot of equity and nuttiness against anything. The turn is a 7 and the river is luckily a jack. So we river a straight here and take it down against top pair and a straight draw, as well as, what did he have? He has a low rep. So we were doing very, very well against him, and against him we also do pretty well actually. So good spot to get the money in here, and we luckily take it down. So already tripling up here and almost doubling up on the other table. Let's see what's happening. I'm also going to check the other stake, basically PLO 50. You got a couple of entries there, not too many. So I will play a little bit more here and maybe move up soon if the action gets a little bit better there, because I don't want to have these tables waiting too long for new hands. This is still fine also, of course. So yeah, I hope you started the year strong, everyone. Let's see. Here we call, flop top pair and a low flush draw. If he bets, I'm just going to call. No reason to raise, of course. We turn top 2 pair now. Pretty nice. He continues to bet. I think we just have a very, very easy call now and take it from there, basically. You will definitely have a good amount of 7x, but against that hand, we still have decent equity. We have position on the river. And I do expect him to check with a reasonable frequency here. He could have something like King 7, for example, with the straight on the river. Not that great to value bet. I'm going to check here. Don't think there's too much value in betting, really. And he did end up with a 7. Here we flop a gutter. And against a pot size bet, we have a very easy fold. This is a hand you want to fold in the cutoff. Like you don't want to open raise too wide there, especially if players tend to have a wider calling range than they should, basically. So here we open raise, ace 9, 8, 3. Flop middle pair. And on this board, I'm going to check, like with the 9 and the 8, I think my check is pretty nice. Like I block some of his check folds, holding those cards in my hand. And on the turn, this is a GTO check for sure. And here, I don't really mind betting, to be honest. There's a good amount of protection needed. You can get some value from overpairs. He actually did have like a set there, which is very, very interesting, of course. But yeah, that is a pretty standard check, I would say, in general. But I don't mind exploitatively coming in for the bet there. And he was holding 3-3, deuce 5, like definitely not a hand you wanna cold call there. See that happening a lot, of course. Players that play these stakes, like their cold calling ranges tend to be too wide. And that is one of the big The big things you want to pay attention to, like because the rake is high, you want to have a tight pre-flop strategy when it comes to cold calling, facing 3 bets. This also fold 2 gaps. We are in MP. This hand is also a fold, I would think. But apparently I clicked the call, which is a mistake. I was about to end up to fold here. And here against we middle pair and open-ended straight draw, backdoor flush draw. I don't think we can check fold right away, so we now have to call and take it from there. We turn 2 pair. And on the river, we block the jack and the 7. I think we want to bluff here because we lose against overpairs. We lose against queen X. We still have a bunch of boats now in our range. And we take it through, which is good. So yeah, as mentioned, I hope you started the year strong. Playing the games you want and you should. Preparing for the year, making a plan. Setting some goals maybe even, or at least think about the strategy that you want to implement in the coming weeks and months basically. We flop top pair, no backup really. It's a pretty dry board. But no backdoor flush draw. I think checking is fine. And on the turn top 2 pair here, I do want to come in for a bet. There's some straight draws now. Still kings out there we can get some value from maybe. Decent hand in the big blind, which I am. I mean, it's still gappy. The thing is though, we have like these low cards that are often good for sort of the board if we hit. Like it's unlikely my opponents will hit those cards. I think calling is okay. We flop top and bottom pair here in an open-ended straight draw. I think it's a little bit too much in the middle for us to be leading. We will definitely have a leading range here. At least we should. But we rather lead with hands that play a little bit better if we get called. And now 9-5. I think we want to bluff again. Like it's sort of the same spot as before. Blocking those 2 pairs. Basically, we are now up against 2 players, but they did show a lot of weakness on flop and turn. And I think my 9x has very low showdown value now. And we get raised, which is a bit weird. But he could still have like Jack 7, Jack 9, of course, that he did check back on the turn with. Because there's a flush, there's like straights out there. So I am going to give up here. Picking up aces here, pretty nice. Against the button, let's see if he continues or not. Pretty bad board. Not only do I totally miss, but also my opponent's range will connect quite often here with like 2 pair, maybe a set, straights. He can have flushes, so I'm just going to check fold. Even though the board is monotone, there's still like a connection or components there that make a board better for one player or the other. And here, it's definitely better for my opponent. So no need to fold or to do anything else than just check folding. Here you're folding queens in the small blind again, like don't play hands like this. We are very deep, but we have a hand that has like nutted components basically. So we're coming in for the 3-bet, flopping top 2 pair. And I am going to start off with a bet of this side. Very good board for my range, of course. And that's not a great turn at all. I'm going to check. Very quick check back on the turn. Could indicate like a low or medium flush. Could indicate like a hand like ace-8, ace-king. Straight roll maybe. So we are checking. And if he now bets, I think he has. I think we have a pretty easy fold here. It's hard for him to come up with enough bluffs using this sizing. He did call a reasonably bet on the flop. He can easily value bet like, or check back of the turn with like a medium high flush, especially because the ace of hearts is still out there. We flop a gutter. But he bets pretty large. And we have all those clubs. I think not sure if raising here could be a thing really against this sizing. I think folding is okay, really. Here we are 3-betting 3-3-5-5. And on this board here, I'm gonna bet small. And the insta min raise. We're bet folding the flop here. I like betting a little bit more for a small sizing. I think we will succeed enough often. And my hand doesn't really play good as a check and then face a bet. And we want to have a high betting frequency on like paired boards. Unless they are extremely well connected and bad for our range, we generally bet quite often. This is a board I have a high betting frequency on as well. Ace-Ace deuce, like pretty good for a pre-flop raiser. Here you have a hand you definitely want to fold. Like you're opening a lot of double suited hands on the button, for sure. But if it's very disconnected and gappy, then just folding there is totally fine, basically. And of course, if you have any questions about these type of games, this format, some of the hands, then of course feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to bet fold here. And we get some future blockers. If we get called, it's a board that is good for my range. So I will bet with a high frequency here. Let's see what he's going to do. In the meantime, we win a small pot here. Pre-flop all in against a random hand. I think this is a fold really here as well. And again, like I keep saying this to people who play micro stakes, low stakes, but pre-flop hand selection is like very important. See people making a ton of mistakes there. And of course, PLO is a game where you want to play a lot of hands because they all look so playable, but you still want to be selective and have a good strategy there. Here, top and bottom pair, but 2 backdoor flush draws. I think betting is okay here. Don't think this board we get check raised super often, really. We turn a flush draw. I think I'm going to check here and then call down on a good amount of rivers. Ace 10 now. He could have ace jack for sure. Now that he checks, I do feel I have a value bet still. Would be unfortunate if we get check raised here. I rather normally bet with like a king or a queen, like having a blocker to the straight. But I think this is fine. Here we check back with the open-ended straight draw. We don't have a made hand. We don't have a pair blocker, so a pretty standard check. And on the turn, I'm also coming in for the check here. We river a 7. Question, of course, is do we want to bluff if they check or not? We do have the 8 as well. We block 8, 10, 8. We block 5, 8. Which we can have very easily. So I'm going to bet here. Actually, my opponent just shows a lot of weakness, but we can still fold out like 9x, jack-x, 10s, queens, kings. So we're losing against a lot of hands, basically. So I think bluffing there is fine. Here we're also folding. King, king, rainbow kings. Pretty easy call versus a raise. And here, I'm not sure. We block middle pair. We have the king of diamonds. It's not that great, huh? It's not that great. Could be a raise. The fact that the ace of diamonds is out there is not too great, but I think people oversee bet there quite a bit. So we can take advantage of that by bluff raising hands like this that don't really play good as a call, but still have good blockers. I think that's fine. Here we call. We flop a pair, and that's about it. So we are probably going to check fold. And the 4 is definitely a better card for my range, I would say. Problem is we don't have a lot of additional equity. We don't have a 5 or a 6. So I'm going to check one more time. If I would have a 5 or a 6, I would most likely bet. And I think on the river we have a pretty easy bet now. We block Jack 10. We have low showdown value. My opponent did check 2 times now. We will have more 2 pairs sets straights in our range. My opponent raises and we have a fold. I think that's fine. River we could even maybe check, like it wasn't the best river for sure. Okay, let's get in a next hand. Not the greatest hand here. Jack 10, 7 deuce against a raise. Very easy fold. Here we got some more disconnected stuff basically that we will fold here. Yeah, and I wonder what you guys how do you work on your pre-flop game plan here for these games? Like, are you working with poker buddies? Are you using some software? Are you using Hold'em Manager? Like, what is your strategy there? I did make a video lately about pre-flop or working on your pre-flop game plan, basically. So if you're interested in getting some IDs, then definitely check that one out. I'll put a link below. Take this one down. I would open this on the button, fold it to me, but against the raise, I think we have a fold again. Be tight when it comes to cold calling. This is too weak to 3-bet, and I don't really want to have a flatting range, so I'm just folding. Yeah, let's see if we can get into a couple of more interesting hands here in the final minute of this video. Also, let me know, please, whether or not you enjoy these play and explain type of games. Made a couple of them recently on PokerStars. And this one is back on Party, of course. Here we are going to fold. Pretty disconnected hand there. This is also a fold. Yeah, in general, I don't mind if you play these games and be a little bit more on the tighter end. This is close against the min raise. I am actually going to make a call this time. We got a hand that has some nuttiness and connection. This is a good board for my range, for sure. That being said, we are three-way and we have absolutely no equity or blockers, no backdoor flush draw, so I'm going to check back. We turn a gutter. And yeah, let's check again, I would say. We now have a 7. My opponent bet, and we have a easy fold. Disconnected hand again in the big blind, which we are folding. And here, ace-9, 4 deuce. Definitely also a fold, like way too disconnected. Here, also folding. Nice hand. King, 10, 9. Yeah, and in general, I think you wanna play somewhat straightforward on these games. Like value bet the correct hands. Here, I think we can bet. Not a great turn. Checking. If he bets, we probably check fold, depending on the sizing. Interesting, he checks back. I'm going to check again. It's self queens or jacks. Don't think he will have a lot of 2 pairs sets. Don't think he has a straight either. So we will win quite often there. And he did have Jack. Yeah, okay. But what I was talking about, like, try to play a little bit straightforward, like, just value bet the hands that are strong, add in some very good bluffs. Don't become too creative sometimes against players that tend to, for example, don't fold, that play weird hands where you have sort of a tendency on. Yeah, just play a solid strategy, the right hands pre-flop, and I think it's very likely that you're gonna do well on these games. Pick a couple of hands from each session that you might study or where you look deeper into, that you maybe post on Discord or a forum. Try to get a little bit better day by day, basically. And yeah, I think you will definitely be able to move out of these stakes and start playing PLO 50, PLO 100 at some point, build a little bit of a roll. Because that's, of course, what it's all about. We all want to, like, eventually play a little bit higher. Here, we are very deep. Against the cutoff, I think we do want a 3-bet. Like, in general, 3-betting kings is not really a thing. And this is also not great. Like, he will just have aces like almost always. And we just don't get the right odds here, I would say, to call. Like, we are not double suited. We have like a 3-gapper in the middle. And if we're up against aces, we just don't do well enough, I would say. So I'm actually going to just fold this one and move on. Like, players tend to not have enough hands beside ace in their 4-betting range. And especially if you have king yourself, then I mean it's even more likely that they have like aces, of course, like because of card removal. So keep those things in mind. And we're going to sit out on both tables. 30 minutes in, guys. That's gonna wrap it up here. Hope you enjoyed this session. It's a quick one here on Party Poker, playing 2 tables of fast forward. Some interesting hands. Focus a little bit on pre-flop again. Make sure to spend some time each day on pre-flop strategy if you plan to take PLOs more seriously and if you want to get a little bit better at the game. Of course, PLO, it's a great game, but even more fun, of course, when you become better at it. Again, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Highly appreciate it. And also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this type of content. Feel free to join our Discord channel also. I will put down a link below in the description. And you can there talk with me as well as with a lot of other poker players about poker strategy or other things in life, whatever is on your mind, basically. Okay, that's going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, and good luck next time you play a session. Bye-bye. Cheers.